Let's...
Huh. What?
Oh, never mind. I was gonna try and do, like, the little Nicky voice for my, hey, babies, it's me, for my intro, but I can't remember the little Nicky voice.
Hey, baby.
From the deep south. There it is. Go. The deep south. Okay, yeah, I'm not doing that. That sucks.
That's gonna go on a post-cred for sure. And welcome to ScreenVomit, the only movie podcast for normal people. I'm your host, Kayla.
And I'm Collie J, baby. Quack, quack. Still not used to this intro format.
Maybe we'll go back to the other way someday, but today, not that day. Okay, we've come together today to discuss the 2020 film, She Dies Tomorrow. Okay, so this movie, as far as the cast goes, all of the people in this movie have been working together for a long time, have been in each other's movies, been in movies with each other for like over a decade. They cross paths constantly, but typically in like deep indies though, so I don't know how much a normal person will have heard of, but some.
Yeah.
Starting with, this is written and directed by Amy Seimetz. She was in Wild Nights with Emily, which we've done on Pod.
She was.
She's also in the new Pet Sematary movie. And then acting in the movie, we have Caitlin Scheel, who was in Brigsby Bear, which we did on Pod. She's in You're Next, which is directed by Adam Wingard, who's also in this movie, who plays the dune buggy stoner guy at the end of the movie.
Oh.
He also directed a segment on the movie VHS that both her and Kentucker Audley are in. So
yeah, tell me about Kentucker Adler.
Audley?
What a name. Audley. Sorry.
Yeah, Kentucker. So he's come up on the past couple episodes. I think I've watched movies of his and talked about them in the After Darks. So yeah, I'm a fan of his work, both as an actor, as a filmmaker himself, and as he runs No Budge, which is a website and an app that hosts low-budget and no-budget films and short films. And they premiere stuff every day and do interviews with the filmmakers on their website. And that, I mean, it's just such a, incredible resource for independent filmmakers that he founded and runs. So that's, super cool. Kentucker, iconic.
Yeah. He
was in a movie we've done on Pod. He was in Her Smell as well. He has a small part, but he's in that for a sec. He has a couple movies of his own. He has a movie called Silvio that's cool. He has a new movie out right now that I talked about on Pod called Strawberry Mansion that I love, that's doing festivals right now.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Kentucker, very cool. Also in this movie, Jane Addams, who I also love. She was also in Brigsby Bear. She also was in two movies that I've talked about After Dark as well, Happiness and The Whackness, that are both really good. She is I think she has the ability on screen to be so natural in a way that many people can never achieve.
Sure.
I think she's so cool. And who else do we have in this? Chris Messina, who was in 6 Feet Under, the show, and also in, famously, Netflix movie I Care a Lot. And Tunde Adebimpe, who was in Spider-Man Homecoming, and also sings in the band TV on the Radio. So we have a certified rocker there.
Ba-now.
Yeah, and that's all the cast I'm going to throw out. So what's our critic scores?
Critic
scores on this one are interesting.
Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah.
83%.
Okay, pretty nice, pretty good, pretty nice.
Metacritic? 80.
And then?
And with Google users, we got 53%. Yeah.
53% is Unhinged.
I would say quite hinged. I'm on Team Google users this ride, folks.
I I think on this one, there's going to be a lot of background info that needs to be filled in for you to totally get what's going on in this movie. I think we're going to sway that 53%.
All right. All
right, so let's watch the trailer and then we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Hi. How's the new house?
Good. Can you come over?
I can't. Are you okay?
I am going to die tomorrow.
What is going on?
There is no tomorrow for me.
All right, listen, Amy, I'm really freaking out right now. I feel like you put this idea of dying in my head. Can you just call me back?
You expecting someone?
Hello, Jane.
You okay?
I just have this feeling I'm going to die tomorrow.
But how do you know?
I just know.
Okay, so you don't know.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
I just thought for a second when the lights went out that was it.
She could be right.
What?
You're worried about catching something?
This is how it ends. Something really bad is gonna happen.
I'm ready. She did this. I'm not ready.
I will say this. This movie has a really cool, really intriguing and thought-provoking process. I thought about this movie a lot today.
Yeah.
Because it's... the first, 15 minutes is just banal depression. And, I don't want to call it out, but, that's a lot of the vibe of the movie. When it's not group aesthetics and group scenes, which are pretty good in this movie, it's a lot of slow sadness.
Well, so Amy Seimetz, so this is a very, very personal movie for her. Enough that she even named the main character Amy. She self-financed this, wrote it, directed it. This is fully her.
God damn it. Yeah. Amy Seimetz rocks. Immediately gonna change my tune.
She self-financed this film using her salary from Pet Sematary, so that's pretty cool. She tried talking to investors, other potential investors, at first, but felt like they were going to try and sway her artistic vision, really. So then she was kind of I don't need that. I really just want to make the thing that's in my heart and do the things that I want to do with this film, and so I'm just gonna do it all myself. So I think that's kind of cool. This was meant to be a personification of her experience with having anxiety, more so than an actual narrative story. So it's a very personal capturing of her experience with anxiety. And I think what she's put into this movie and kind of what she wants out of it and the way she talks about her film, actually, it's very similar to how we talked about Joel Potrakis talking about his films and Relaxer, where just the film is meant to be more of a feeling and kind of replace words. So she doesn't like to talk about it too much in that way, but also just purely wanted to put her artistic vision into this and just having the story she wanted to tell and doing everything you can to bring your vision to life for no other reason than that you're driven to, And I think,
hell yeah, I respect.
You got to
that.
have big
rocks.
respect for that, kind of no matter what you think about the movie. I think that kind of passion and artistic vision and creativity are really cool and really commendable. So I think that rocks.
Yeah. It absolutely does.
So this film was scheduled to premiere at South by last year, which got canceled. But I still feel like it kind of reached a wider audience than a normal indie film of this caliber too somehow. So maybe that's why the Google user score was so low. Maybe had something to do with that, because I think this movie is not for everybody.
There it is.
It's definitely not for normies, but normals will love. So maybe we should just start kind of going into it a little bit. This movie is non-linear. We kind of start at a place, go forward, and then at a certain point flash back to before the beginning, and then catch up to the beginning, and then move forward again from where we left off. So it kind of jumps around a little bit in that way.
It jumps around, but it wasn't...
It's not hard to follow. Yeah, I don't mean to imply that it's hard to follow, just that, I don't know, just that exists, I guess. Just acknowledging that that's there. And because of that, we don't have all the information at the beginning when this movie opens. We're just kind of cold opening into a situation that's sort of disastrous and then seeing the aftermath for a while before we get what happened to lead up to that. So you're kind of piecing things together for a little bit. I don't have any, like, I don't dislike that. That's just what's going on.
No, I did not care for it. No, I don't want to be cynical about this. This is really, because I have thought about this. It just wasn't, it didn't strike me. I kind of had this personal relation to this, because at a point I was kind of able to discern she's in this funk, she's in this haze. Correct me if I'm wrong, I really having a hard time picturing this movie for some reason. But Amy doesn't talk for a good while. You don't know who Amy is for a good while.
You just kind of know that she's going through something. I think at the beginning it feels like she's going through a breakup or having some kind of hard time, but you don't really know what that is. Like I said, we're not opening with all the information.
I think I maybe had spoiled myself. I think maybe I had read one of the plot summaries prior to watching. So I think I knew that she knew or had this feeling she's going to die tomorrow. And was kind of living with this mortality over her head. And when I don't know, that kind of stewed with me for those first couple slow minutes. It's well shot. It's like this movie, I want to make that known. Like, I think this is a good movie.
Okay.
I think I'm in that chunk of people when you say this movie's not for everyone. I think I'm in that chunk.
Okay. But when you're trying to be objective, you think it's good. You think it's just not for you, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. I think this is a really, like, would I recommend this? Spoiler alert. Like, yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But it is, like, it's tough. What it provoked in me was, I don't know. I don't feel this. Like, just on the basis, this movie deals with mortality. Just in the title. Mm-hmm. So, the big existential, knowing that we are all going to die. Is, that's a constant in film. Mm-hmm. That's been a mainstay for a long time. It always will be, because we are all, on some level, afraid to die because we don't know what's coming. But how I read this first couple minutes was moping around knowing you're going to die tomorrow. And I tell you what, who gives a fuck? You know what? Embrace it. Okay. It is what it is. Like, I have never felt much of a fear of mortality. I don't mean to, like, oh, I'm not scared. Yes, of course, on some level, I'm terrified of it. But I feel I have been able to embrace that I will die, it is going to suck, but there's nothing I can do about that. And, it just left this sour taste in my mouth watching this first a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about what's happening at the beginning. So we open on a close-up of the character. I'm actually going to use character names for this one because they're easy.
This is helpful. Yeah.
Because the main character's name is Amy, and then the other main character name is Jane, who is the actor's name is Jane. So that's easy. Okay.
Serving it up.
So we open on a close-up of Amy's eyes crying with a little voiceover from her. And although we kind of jump between characters in this movie a little bit, everything that happens kind of spikes off of her in some way, even though we're not always with her. So at the very beginning, we see Kentucker being upset in a room, kind of throwing things around, saying, I'm not crazy and there's no tomorrow. And the way that is shot is through the crack of the door, too, which I thought was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Then we just see Amy, like, gasp awake, and the door's wide open, and she walks out the door. And she goes home after that. In the movie, she just bought a house, and that house is actually Amy Seimet's real house. that she had just bought prior to doing this movie.
Very cool.
And everything in the house, the furniture, how everything looked, like that's just her house. Even down to the one room with the half-done wallpaper. She said she realized after starting that she wasn't very good at doing wallpaper and just kind of never finished, and then found an excuse to use it in her movie. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And even like when she moved in, she said she had been sort of a vagabond of sorts for like years before buying this house, and had just lived out of a suitcase and never really like owned anything. Mm-hmm. So even when she moved in, she asked the previous owners to like leave a bunch of their stuff so that she would just like have stuff in the house or whatever. And here in a little bit in this movie, she's giving Kentucker a tour around the house. Okay, I'm using everybody's character name except for Kentucker. I have no idea what his character name is. But anyway, she's giving him a tour, and they go to a TV, and she says something like, oh yeah, the previous owners left it here. But like that's actually like what happened in her real life too. So I don't know, I just think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, when she gets to her house, you just kind of feel that she's sad, and we don't really know why. And she calls a friend to come over, seeming like she really needs a friend at that moment. Like I said, I felt like she was maybe had a breakup or something. Mm-hmm. But her friend is just kind of complaining about her own life and like not wanting to go to a party. And it's kind of like, no. Which is like in its own way a little bit like heartbreaking or whatever when you see somebody finally reaching out.
Yeah.
So her friend's kind of like, no, I'm not going to come over. She starts blasting that Requiem, the Mozart song, on repeat.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And starts kind of touching her house. Kind of fucking the floors and the walls.
Yeah.
Amy Seimet's comment on like what's happening here, I think is kind of interesting. So she was really trying to capture what people are like when they're alone and the parts that other people don't see. So like what it looks like to be alone.
That felt very genuine. Yeah.
Yeah, she said when she bought her house, she was having a strange feeling where she was like kind of underwhelmed by how it felt to own a house. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be feeling something and I'm just not really feeling something for this. And so she said that she would do that, like start touching on her house like that, touching on the walls and the floors and stuff. And then she'd have this moment, which I'm sure we've all had. I get these constantly where you're like doing something goofy and you just suddenly think like, if somebody walked in right now and saw what I was doing, they would be like, what the fuck is happening? I would look insane.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty much sums up my entire life living alone out here.
Yeah, living alone, you really
can go full
face
insane.
Your own. Yeah. There's a lot of shit with that.
Yeah, because nobody's ever going to walk in the door, so I can just be doing anything at any moment. So she thought it would be kind of funny, but also kind of disturbing for like us to be watching a woman who's having this like weird relationship with her home in like such a private moment, you know,
yeah,
what you're doing when you're alone, and just getting increasingly emotional, and to where the viewer doesn't really know why yet. So yeah. I think that like when I saw that in the movie, I was like, what is happening? And she kind of does give a little explanation for it later, but like I think that explanation from Amy Seimet's really adds a new context to what's happening there, and I think that context is really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, when you just said she's what people are like behind closed doors, kind of whatever, like, yeah, that's probably part of why I might have been uncomfortable is I know what, like, it's like looking in a mirror a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And also in a way a little bit voyeuristic, like you're not supposed to be seeing someone be like this.
Yeah, like hearing your own voice kind of stuff for the first couple times where you're just kind of like, this feels off and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think it achieves its intended goal. I think she achieves her intended goal very well.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable.
I also love that they had her repeat that song over and over and over again, because I think that's such, like, as annoying as that might be to like an outsider, but like that's like such a real thing. Like sometimes you just be vibing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you know? Yes. Sometimes it's that you're vibing to. Can you imagine? Holy shit. Okay, I'll be frank.
Okay.
Earlier this year, did I have a little streak? I think it was probably a 2-day period where I listened to the song Sober by Tool like 3 times, like 3 to 6 times maybe. And did I repeat it? Yes. But like, she's listening to it forever. It's this song.
I absolutely, I would say regularly go through phases where I will listen to one song for hours.
Really? Okay, I don't have that.
I know not everybody's that intense because I would say the majority of people, because I've had this discussion with a lot of people, majority of people are more like you, where they might play one song like a couple times in a row, and then that's like, they're done with it. But there are a sprinkling of people like me. Sometimes you're just not done with the vibe of a song, and you just gotta keep listening to it. You gotta keep putting it on repeat. And I'm not the only one. That's what I want to really.
Okay, no, that's good.
I've driven all the way from Chicago to Indianapolis and listened to one song the entire way before.
That's insane. That's nuts. I have to listen to like 15 half albums on the way to Chicago.
I mean, it's not like I'm doing that every time, but sometimes you just get in a vibe, and there are some songs that have like, I guess I have that ability with my superpower.
Your superpower is you get obsessed with songs.
You just be feeling a vibe, and you just want to keep riding that wave. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And some songs have like really strong vibes too, like you can't vibe out to like any kind of music. There's a specificity to it. But yeah, anyway, so all that is to say that when she put that song on repeat, I felt that. So
all right, hell yeah.
Also, just in the way that the shots are composed, like for this part and throughout the movie, something that she wanted to capture was how when you're up close, when you get these there's like such a variance of extreme close-ups and then these like zoomed out moments. So like when you're up close, you're seeing more of the like eyes crying or a little bit of fear in the face kind of things. And then they zoom out and it's just kind of like, seems like nothing.
Yeah.
When they're zoomed out. And she was talking about how like that feeling, like when you have anxiety, like your brain's going a million miles an hour. There feels like so many things are happening inside, but like probably from the outside perspective just looks like you're staring into space or something like that.
Yeah.
And that like nothing's really going on. And so she was really trying to capture that. And I think that the usage of those shot compositions was effective in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's stressful. It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
And you're up close and they're being insane, but then you zoom out and it's just, okay, some chick standing there with a leaf blower in the yard.
Yeah.
What's going on?
a lot of muttering. A lot of muttering to themselves.
Yeah.
In this movie.
You think this is mumblecore?
It's got mumblecore folks in it.
Absolutely. All of these people have been in mumblecore and or created mumblecore movies.
If it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck,
I'm still coming around to what mumblecore even is. I feel like I just watched a movie the other day, actually, that also had Jane Addams in it, that I finally was like, okay, now this movie, I understand what people are talking about when they say mumblecore. That was a movie called All the Light in the Sky. But it's like, finally I get it, that like, I literally had to turn on the captions because they're literally mumbling so much that the kissing noises are louder than the dialogue. That's strange.
Oh, what great sound editing.
I think that's just part of the vibe.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wonder, how do industry people feel about the term mumblecore? I'll tell you, I don't particularly care for anything core unless it's hardcore, baby. People try to do something core too much, I think. It's overused, but I don't know. Who am I? What do you think?
I'm bald core, sorry. I don't know. Mumblecore to me has always just been like, oh, it's when these people do a movie. It's when... it's when, like, what? Joe Swanberg, Mark Duplass, these people, Jane Addams, Josh Lucas was interesting. He's never been in any of them that I know.
Kentucker's been in a bunch too.
Yeah, and Adam Wingard. Like,
and so
Your
is
Next is
the other person, Caitlin.
Katie Lynn Shield.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Caitlin.
I was
Oh
just
my God.
watching a movie, a Swanberg with Caitlin and Kentucker, actually, before this.
Yeah. Literally, that's what I think Mumblecore means. I don't think...
If you try and, like, look up what's the definition of Mumblecore, it's just, like, movies where people talk a lot. And it's like, okay, well, that's every movie. I don't understand.
Yeah, if you Google, like, it'll say, like, movies such as, and then it will just list movies by those people. Like, you... Once you, like, see who it is, you're like, okay, it's this group of actors.
Yeah.
And that's really all the genre is.
Sure.
And that's fine, I think, because I really
I wonder
do
what
enjoy
they
some.
think about that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that more of a thing that, like, other people are like, that's mumblecore? Like how people are like, oh, Taylor Swift is cottagecore or whatever, but, like, Taylor Swift isn't walking around being like, I'm cottagecore, you know?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, like, a genre doesn't mean, much when you think about it.
Okay, let's get off of this, because I'm over mumblecore now.
All right, me too.
Okay, so her friend comes over, and her friend is Jane. That's when we find out that Amy has relapsed. She's an alcoholic. She's drinking. Mm-hmm. She's rolling around the floor, reveals that she's dying tomorrow, and tells Jane that she wants to be useful in death, and she wants to be turned into a leather jacket. Like how trees are useful after death by becoming floorboards, which is kind of how she explains her touching the floors so much. But yes, what were you about to say?
She's thinking the wrong way. I believe I've talked on pod at length about my preferred burial of being fed to birds. Mm-hmm. And I think lean into that. Don't make yourself into a leather jacket.
Yeah.
Just be fed to birds.
That's kind of also like, especially once we get later in the movie and you find out like the process of becoming leather and stuff, like,
yeah,
she's not really thinking it through too much because,
oh no,
first of all, the process is horrific, but secondly, like, nobody wants to wear you as a jacket. Like, who's gonna wear that jacket, right?
There's so many holes in it, but it is so, again, to its credit, when you're in like a anxiety or depression spiral, at least in my opinion, in my case, you grasp on to like fanciful ideas that will save you or make it all seem worthwhile.
Right. Even if they may not be thought through that well.
Yeah, and rarely will they ever pan out in
Sure.
any way. It's it's a spurn of the moment. You're just like, maybe it'll be good that I get kicked out of college. Because then I can X, Y, or Z. It's just coping. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this conversation is not a conversation that her friend wants to be having. But I also think that her friend's like a little rude because clearly like she's having a very hard, sad time. Whatever's going on with her. We don't know at this moment what's going on with her, really. But,
yeah.
Her friend's just like, I'm not going to be held hostage here by your threats of suicide, and I'm leaving. So I thought that was kind of rude when her friend's having such a hard time to just be like, well, bye.
Yeah, I felt like it could have used more context of her just simply saying, like, it's been like this forever. I'm always, like, demonstrating that she's burnt out on this. Because it did feel just kind of callous.
Yeah, they do later even before this, I guess, kind of establish her a little bit as being self-centered.
Yeah.
Like, when they were on the phone earlier, and, like, clearly even then you hear Amy being, like, she sounds just fully depressed, right? She just sounds so sad and, like, needs a friend. And then this girl's just like, I have to go to my brother's wife's party. Like, I really don't want to go. Like, I don't even like her, and like, or whatever.
Could
just
easily
like,
get out of it kind of shit, yeah.
Yeah, and not only could she easily get out of that plan, but she does not intend to go, and she just was gonna stay home anyway, but also like isn't even asking like what's going on with you. I think she asks her, "Are you okay?" and she says no.
Yeah.
But doesn't really even ask any follow up on that either. She just kind of goes off on what her problems are right then. So yeah, she's kind of established as a sort of self-centered character at this point already, and then later I think that drives in even more, but I think that's what they're going off of with this.
Yeah.
So after she leaves is when the first time that we get Amy seeing the colors and hearing the sounds coming from a back bedroom, which were also reminiscent of Ding Ding Relaxer.
No. All right. Sure.
And also similar lights used in tangentially related Jackson's short License and Registration.
Huh.
Right?
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it's really good. But at the end of that, they do the blue and red lights on his face, too.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, like, at the end of Relaxer, once it's
I gotta
Y2K.
log that one so I can remember it.
Yeah, you should. Give him a little rating. Give him a little review.
I like that one.
That was really good.
Anyway.
But yeah, also, you know, in the Y2K scene in Relaxer, they also do the blue and red lights that take over the house. So yeah, I felt in that way, I was like, okay, I've seen this. And also sort of thought they might be cop lights at first, too. Did you think this? Because they were, for a moment, blue and red.
Oh, yeah. Anytime I see blue-red, I'm like, they're cops, baby.
Well, they're cop lights. And in both of the movies I just said, those lights are cop lights. So, I don't know. Why'd they pick blue and red when they weren't going to be cop lights? I don't really understand.
I got no clue.
Anyway, these lights come to represent the quote-unquote virus, and seems like how you know when a person is infected with it. They see these lights, right?
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it.
Mm-hmm. So then we flash back to Amy showing someone through her house, and that someone is Kentucker. She's giving him a little tour. They have a little cuddle. They're doing dating. And this is at least the third movie that these two people have dated in. They were in Simon's movie Sun Don't Shine. They were dating. And I was just watching Swanberg's The Zone, where they're dating. Yeah, that's it. I was thinking.
Okay.
She's so naked in that movie. It's practically a porno.
Me likey. It's called The Zone, you say.
The Zone. It's on Canopy. I only got like halfway through it before we had to do pod, but it is so fully frontal, everything nudie on the women and full titties. Like the whole shot is the titty so many times. And it's Kentucker dating all these women. So anyway.
Next up, Booby Town for old Collie J.
So they are seasoned daters. Practically in a real relationship if you keep dating someone on screen for a full decade over and over.
Pretty much. Might as well.
So yeah, they're dating. That's established. And I think they're cute.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, they were cute. I like the hot tub. Sorry, not to get ahead.
Hot tub's like the end of the movie.
Yep.
And this part, like, they lay in bed and they do a little cuddle and they're like having a talk about what do you regret in life or stuff like that. And she talks about having had an abortion. But even in that conversation, like, he's really gentle with her, or like, oh, you don't have to tell me about it, or like, you don't have to tell me if you regret it. Like, don't answer that or whatever.
Mm.
They're just sweet and gentle. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we cut over to Jane. So what's going on with Jane? Just a little note that we do see her changing shirts, and something I always notice about when women change shirts in movies is that they never have them put on a bra. Actually, when they change clothes in general, you never see underwear or a bra involved. And I kind of wish that you did, especially like with Simon's like wanting to capture real life, or like being hung up on wanting to capture parts of real life and what it's like to be alone or blah blah blah, that you wouldn't make them put on a bra. I don't know, that's real life that just doesn't get captured.
You want answers about the bra.
I want more bra representation. Because look,
you're sick of these
so many women
anti-bra folks.
Some would say, look, if you want to not wear a bra, that's go off, sis. Like,
okay,
please do your thing. But, however, the majority of women, I would say, are wearing them, and many have to wear them, myself included. There's no other option. It would be disastrous to not.
Disastrous, you say?
It would be disastrous for me, at least.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, it'd be cool to see some bra representation. But anyway, she goes to work, and her work is that she looks at shit under a microscope all day. And also, she puts on the same song that Amy was listening to. And this song kind of runs throughout the movie, really, like carrying that feeling throughout the movie, which was interesting.
It's a bop.
It's a bop. So when she's vibing out to the jam and the microscope stuff, she also begins to hear the sounds and see the color. And she takes off running out the door.
Dun, dun, dun. Another one.
So she tries to go to Amy's house, but Amy's not answering. So not wanting to be alone, she goes to the party she was trying to avoid. And...
What a terrible idea.
well,
I just hadn't thought about that decision.
yeah, but I mean, I guess, like, if you really don't want to be alone and, like, that's her brother,
Yeah.
you know, like, there's maybe some comfort there, even if, like, something is happening that you don't want to be a part of.
Totally. I just now, like, put myself in her shoes. I'm just the opposite. I would isolate.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't give me help. Let me be on my own.
Well, I think part of what they explore with this movie is how different people react to being confronted with death.
Totally.
And
yeah.
each one of the characters who are confronted with it in this movie react to it very differently. Where Amy has gone off and is now doing her, like, bucket list stuff, which we'll see more of here in a minute.
Livin' La Vida Loca.
Jane's reaction is much more fear-based, and she wants it to not be true. She's really scared and also is kind of in denial a little bit at some points, I think, or
Yeah.
she's just really scared. She's much more scared. So she goes to this party, and the conversation happening at this party was very funny.
Yeah.
The sister-in-law just going off on dolphins being sex maniacs.
I tell you what, I feel like I have heard someone talk about dolphins being sex maniacs at every workplace I've been at in, like, the last 10 years.
Well, you always work with normies, too.
It is interesting. Like, don't get me wrong. I feel like I've engaged with it most times because it is... Every time I hear it, I am a little shocked. Because it's like, holy shit, they're monsters.
Is it even true, though? I feel like that's one of those things that's probably been blown out of proportion, too.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
Look.
I've never Googled it, okay? But I have heard about it and read about it and whatever. I need a Snopes on this one.
the answer is complicated and it's somewhere between yes and no.
Yeah, so I don't know about all that. Yeah, so she's popping off about the dolphin sex thing. When Jane shows up, she's fully in her jammies, just like kind of looking insane, being freaked out about death. And she cut her wrist on the window, so she's like all looks suicidal. But she is so like, she's so natural, even in such a absurd environment.
The word authentic came to mind for me.
Authentic, grounded, probably a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a
This
king.
movie felt very genuine. Yeah. Very authentic.
Yeah. So she tells the party she also knows that she's going to die tomorrow. And she says she knows in the way that you know you're about to get a cold, even though it hasn't hit yet. Thought that was kind of a neat way to describe what's going on with them.
Yeah. It was a really good usage of something very distinct.
That everyone
That-
has felt.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to die tomorrow.
Okay, great. So you don't know. I know that it's my birthday. And I want to talk about dolphin fucking. It's all I want to talk
It's
about
the
tonight.
only thing I want to talk about. Which is just insane. The sister-in-law also very mean. I mean, she says some really mean stuff to Jane in this area, especially once the brother leaves the room, saying like, I hope my children don't have whatever gene makes you you.
Yeah, it becomes very cruel very quickly.
Yeah, to the sweet old woman. But, however, soon after that, we see both the brother and the sister-in-law seeing the lights. And everyone at the party eventually knows that they're going to die tomorrow. Amy Seimetz said that the way she envisioned the sort of contagious element of what's happening to them is that she went back to a period of time when she was extremely anxious and realized that she was talking a lot about her anxieties with her friends, but it seemed like the more she was talking about her anxiety, the more that she was kind of spreading the anxiety and then making her friends also anxious. Especially like specific examples were like that she was becoming kind of obsessed with the news and just getting really anxious over things happening in the news, but then you're telling other people about it, now they're anxious, you know?
Yeah.
So in that way, that's kind of what she relates the contagious element to in this. And I think that's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
I thought it was super unique.
Yeah.
I thought it was just outstanding. Like, that's such a great concept to base it off of. I was a real slowpoke about realizing that it was contagious. Mm-hmm. It literally tells you in the trailer that it's contagious, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. No, don't say that.
Yeah.
You see her friend get depressed, and my mind didn't go to, oh my god, it's a contagious thing that's going to spread to everyone. I was just like, yeah, that happens. You get burnt out as a friend.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen now? So, once I realized it was contagious, my notes were just like, this is so cool. This is great.
That was the turning point for you.
This is a turning point. Like,
yeah.
That's why I want to, like, I really do maintain that, like, this just what I wasn't... It didn't quite click for me, but I really saw what was trying to be presented, and I thought that was very cool. It just didn't... I think it could have been executed differently and maybe better. Okay. But what the fuck do I know? Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and it starts to get a little, like, more upsetting from here, too. Like, the brother and his wife, like, holding their daughter and telling their daughter, I'm gonna die tomorrow, and so's your dad. And then, like, a little bit later, their daughter just screaming, I don't want to die, from the other room. Insane.
Yeah, and that fucking happens, you know? It's totally true that, you know, people are imperfect. Parents have depression. Parents have fucking rough lives. And unfortunately, a lot of that emotional trauma falls to the child. Fuck, this reminds me of this great movie called The Insect Woman from 1963. It's this Japanese movie. And it's very much about, like, generational trauma and kind of... I can't remember it right now. There was some great quote in it about the rain that falls on the parent also falls on the child or something. And I thought this was just a really quick, like, this didn't linger too long. This movie isn't all about, you know, it doesn't follow this through line of, you know, oh, the child is now traumatized and acting out in this way. But it was really effective, the way it was used to show, you know, like, when we all know what it's like to... I can't believe, like, most of us probably know what it's like to have, like, a panic attack. But if you have a panic attack and you have a kid, the fuck is the kid supposed to do?
Right.
Like, they don't know better.
Yeah. Did they spread the disease to the kid, too?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really poignant, solid stuff.
Yeah, and then we also see the other couple that was at the party go to the hospital, and the dude, like, pulls the plug on his dad, who was in the hospital, and releases him from life.
Yeah.
Those two also think they're gonna die tomorrow. And the girl even says to him out loud, like, I was just waiting for your dad to die before breaking up with you. Which, like, Amy Seimetz said in her real life, like, her dad died. And a guy said to her during that time as well. Which is, ugh, that sucks. But it happens.
I feel that's unfortunately kind of common.
Yeah.
I feel I've heard that a couple times before. I can't think of anyone personally, but I just feel I've heard that. Anyway.
I stayed with someone who was sick before because they were sick. He ended up breaking up with me, so it was fine.
I had a girlfriend when my dad had a stroke, so, like, the same situation. I didn't have to pull the plug, fortunately. But I'm not with that girl. She was very cool about it, though. She was very helpful. Sometimes it'd be like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, this is just more examples of what I was saying earlier, the different ways people are reacting when faced with death. Is it the brother and sister-in-law who are also saying, like, we're gonna die and we, like, wasted all this time? Yeah, we wasted all this time. Like, what was I even talking about? I'm just talking about dumb stuff, and, like, I have done all this stupid stuff that, like, doesn't even matter because we're just dying.
Yeah, again, like, on point. Yep, that's what I think that's maybe why, I think I said this at the top, that maybe I was uncomfortable with the first 5 minutes because it felt like looking in a mirror, and I think that's a lot of this movie for me. Like, I've had really shitty times, you know? I think a lot of us have, that we're just, you feel like you're walking through a haze all day, you don't really know what you're doing, but you fucking hate it, and everything just kind of feels on repeat, and it's miserable.
Yeah.
And like, what do you, and then you have like your leisure time when you're fucking depressed is you just like self-loathe, and it's shitty. You don't do anything or enjoy anything you do, and it's just, yeah, like, it gets that vibe really well. I think I saw some Letterboxd review just scrolling that just said it was just bad vibes. It was a 2-word review. I was like, yeah, these are all bad vibes going on.
I did think that it was just really interesting, though, and that, like, the things they're exploring in this film, I don't really see explored as honestly that often.
No, it's done very well, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, it's uncomfortable how accurate it is.
Yeah. Being faced with death does change your perspective on things and how you think about the time you spend alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is a serious episode. Life's a wild ride. Simons did note that what she was trying to elicit from the actors was not just fear and terror of death, but also the rush of every emotion, like whatever they describe death as, like all of your hormones releasing into your body, and you're euphoric and happy and sad and afraid and a little bit of everything, and at the same time kind of nothing.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that she did a really good job capturing every angle of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so after this is when we get the time jump back to the before time. Things that happen before the movie, before the start of the movie. So we get the flashback with Ken Tucker and Amy dating. They go to his brother's house, which is the house that she woke up in at the beginning. So now we know that. They're just kind of like having, it seems like, a little weekend getaway together.
Yeah.
They talk about doing mushrooms together. They do mushrooms together. They order pizza. And when he comes back from getting the pizza from the door, then he's all like, his whole vibe has changed.
Yeah, he turns around. I actually laughed at this.
Yeah.
Like, it is very, like, it is a devastating vibe, but it's so jarring. Like, he gets up, he's like, oh, pizza's here. And then she's like, yeah, okay, don't forget to tip, or whatever.
Yeah.
And no reply.
He just kind of stands there for a minute. I honestly thought like he had been stabbed in the stomach or something. Like, that was kind of like, I thought, the reaction that was happening.
Yeah. I thought, like, oh, they're going to start dying tomorrow. You know, it's midnight or something. Nope. He just turns around, deadpan.
Yeah.
And what does he do?
He mentions the day after tomorrow. He just kind of mentions the day, and then she's like, what? The day after tomorrow? And he's just like, nothing. Do you want pizza? Like, but he's clearly like, something's going on with him.
Yeah.
That's what had happened before what we see in the opening scene with him crashing the room and saying, it's tomorrow, I'm not crazy, I swear, but, you know.
Yeah.
After that, we see Amy go into the house, and from the side, because it's like a side shot of her face, and if you look in the background, you can see like that there's blood all over the walls. And it's a repeat of the opening. So then we're like caught up to the opening where she's like, I didn't know you very well. We only knew each other for a short time, but it was a really nice time. Just a fully like repeat of the opening monologue so that you know where you're at.
Yeah.
But then when we get the wide shot, we see the dead body on the ground. And that's Ken Tucker's dead body.
Yeah.
We don't know how he died. Simons said that the idea here was that ideas themselves have consequences, and that the how or why doesn't matter as much as that ideas have consequences. And whether he killed himself or she killed him or how Jane gets stabbed later, like, none of that really matters as much as that all these people believe that they're going to die tomorrow, and that belief in itself creates a consequence, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and then when we see Jane, she went back to the basement, and we see that blood dripping down her microscope, and some of the trippy images that were from the beginning are, now we know, that blood on the microscope on the slides. So it's kind of like filling in all of the blanks from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And I actually, after finishing this movie, went back and watched the beginning again and felt like that put a really cool, you just notice a lot more once you know, too, when you go back to the beginning. So that was kind of cool. When we're down to 7 minutes left in the movie, we get a surprise cameo from Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. This part was really jarring for me. I feel better about it now, but I felt so stupid when this happened. When all of a sudden it's just Michelle Rodriguez, and for some reason I couldn't recognize like anyone in the scene, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck anyone in this movie is.
So what's happening here is that Jane has like been stabbed or something. She's bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
She walks into this house. I don't think we know what the house is, right? Do we know? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And it's just Michelle Rodriguez and another girl in there hanging out, chilling. And Jane walks in and is like, hi, I'm Jane. I'm dying. And the girls are like, oh, cool. We're dying too.
Yep.
And all Jane really wanted for the whole time was for somebody to validate her feelings throughout the whole movie. And suddenly these two strangers are like, yeah, we're dying too. And she's like, oh, thank you. And now she's like content after that.
She's fixed.
She's fixed. And she goes swimming. I loved the scene of her swimming with the blood just like trailing behind her in the pool.
That was really cool, yeah.
It was insane. It was sick. But what the fuck is Michelle Rodriguez doing there?
It did throw me for a loop.
Where did she come
Yeah.
from? Why is she there? I don't like her.
Really?
Yeah, she's problematic.
Is she problematic, or is she just mean on set?
She's problematic. Several years ago, I don't know if this movie even came to fruition, but she was going to / maybe did play a trans man, and all of the press she did around this movie where she was going to play a trans man was everything she said was just terrible, talking about her mangina and all kinds of things like this.
Shit.
And ever since then, I've not cared for her. She didn't seem to be too keen on like even apologizing for her statements or trying to learn more about the trans community or anything. She's kind of one of those. She is bisexual in real life, and she has always been one of those like, well, I'm bi, so like I can't be homophobic or whatever. I can't be prejudiced because I'm bisexual, you know. So that attitude sucks, and belonging to a minority does not mean that you cannot be prejudiced against that minority. So
Yeah.
and she's not trans, they're different anyway, so I don't got time for that. I don't like her.
That's fair. Yeah.
Haven't liked her since then, so wasn't stoked on seeing her in this, but that's my opinion.
That's fair.
So what else is happening? Amy finds a custom leather guy, finds out what she has to do to get her body to turn into leather. I think isn't very into it.
Yeah, it sounds salty.
Oh yeah, it sounds terrible. I mean,
Sounds dry.
I'm ethically against leather. I don't know what your stance is. I know you're vegetarian.
Oh, yeah, I unfortunately own a leather belt. I don't know where I got it.
Okay.
And then my grandma gave me a leather wallet. So I am not trying to seek out leather, but also
If it falls in your hands, you're okay.
it is what it is. I don't like
You're
it.
a freegan.
I'm a freegan. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I am grossed out by leather, personally.
It is, it does suck. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. I don't buy it. I don't touch it. I think it's gross to touch dead bodies. That's my opinion, though. And that's okay if
That's
everybody
fair. That
doesn't
makes
agree.
sense.
But
Get eaten by birds. Be normal.
yeah. Okay, so we're
Oh my
at the
God.
very end here. So
Leather is gross, though, yeah.
leather's gross. Sorry, Charlies. All you leatherheads out there. Preaching today. Okay, so she gasps awake on a mountain, says, I'm okay, I'm not okay, I'm ready. And then that's kind of roll creds. So that specific, like, lines there. Simon said that she always caught herself having anxiety about something and then would be saying to herself, out loud, like, I'm okay, and then realize that if she was okay, she wouldn't be saying out loud to herself, I'm okay. And when she changes tone to say, I'm not okay, that's her just, like, accepting that it's okay to accept the fear that, you know, you're really not okay. And there's no real closure to the movie because nobody dies besides Kentucker.
No.
I kind of was half expecting like a Ready or Not style ending. That could have been cool. Just everybody exploding.
Yeah. I kind of figured it would stay like that no one would die.
Yeah.
I was surprised Kentucker died. I figured it would be so... I don't know. I got the vibe early that, like, okay, yeah, this is kind of like a film representation of being in a depressive state and being in that deep funk. I thought the logical continuation would be that, yes, all these people are losing their minds over nothing. And kind of just a reminder that, you know, that's all it is. It's just all in their heads. It's contagious, but at the end of the day, it's just in your head. There's nothing, you know, there's no curse, there's no prophecy that dooms you. So eventually you can work your way out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is like kind of what she's said about it too, is like, because for her it is a film about anxiety, and with anxiety there never really is closure. It's just sort of, it's there and then it dissipates. And
yeah, you just kind of endure.
Yeah. And she also wanted to represent like kind of what a tantrum or like a panic attack sort of feels like, where it's this big ramp up to the attack, this complete outburst of emotion, and then the weird calm after the storm. And she says like it's almost so quiet because it's gotten so loud, and that her movie follows that format.
Yeah.
That at the end it's just quiet. Everyone's accepted what's happening to them or not happening, and we don't really know, I guess, either way.
Yeah.
Even with Kentucker dying, like, we don't know that it was any curse or virus or something that caused him to die. Like I said, it was just the idea that ideas have consequences. So, like, maybe he thought he was going to die and then he killed himself because he didn't want to face it, you know? Or he wanted to be in charge of it. Or they got in some scuffle over a gun and she shot him on accident, or who knows? Yeah. So the curse could be nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it posits that very well, that this... It makes that clear, that there's no magic behind it. There's no mysticism about it. It just is all in their heads. And it is contagious, yeah.
So lots to think on this one. But yeah, I mean, it is more of a... The whole movie is just a capturing... The whole movie is mood, honestly.
It is one big vibe.
It's one big vibe. It's one big mood. Yeah, kind of like the specific things that are happening don't matter as much as like the depictions of the feelings. It's all about the feelings. And that's kind of cool.
Feelings representation. Not a lot of those in movies.
No, and especially not with like... Not with, like, these really intense, complicated feelings that are sort of nonsensical, but, like, anxiety is nonsensical most of the time, you know? It's not really... I mean, it can be driven by stuff, but, like, it can also not be, and you can just sit around and be anxious.
Yeah.
Or, like, these feelings about death, like, it's not really... doesn't make a lot of sense to, like, be anxious about death because it's gonna happen, you know? Like,
exactly.
So there's not anything you can do about it.
And I have heard people like talk about having like like a constant fear of death, and that being like, that's the big anxiety. Ugh, my heart goes out to it. That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I feel so like that's the one thing that like, oh my God, after living through a suicide attempt, I just knew. I was like, okay, like me and death are cool. Like I'm not afraid of this shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that one off to the side because like I can't control that one. Like I can't control if death. I can control if I go to death, but I can't control if death comes to me.
And like there's some lizard part of our brains, I call it the cockroach part. For me personally, that will just try and live as hard as it can.
Yes.
No matter what
Absolutely.
else is happening.
Yeah.
Just gotta rely on that little guy to do what it can. And anyway, we've gotten too heavy. We need a treat. Email us a treat.
Oh boy. Yeah. I'm definitely getting a donut tomorrow morning.
I wish that I could, but unfortunately I'm late to work every day, so there's simply no time. Okay, so we've rolled creds. Sorry for the most depressing ep yet. Even after doing movies literally about depression, how does this one end up so sad?
Yeah.
Okay, we've rolled creds. What are we gonna rate this out of 5? We gotta get this out of here.
Yeah. So all things considered, for me, it gets 3 stars.
Okay.
I acknowledge it is very, very well done. A lot of it it was either uncomfortable because I think it
Too
felt
real.
too real. It struck close to home. And then there were other times where I was just like, it is a lot of just, voyeuristic viewing of people. Mm-hmm. And that didn't always hold my attention super well. But that's a me problem. I can focus on a movie. It just was hard. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna go 3.5.
Yeah.
So not too far ahead of you. But yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. I don't know if I'll watch this again. I think that the idea is really unique. I think the way it was executed also really unique for the most part. Besides the lights that I mentioned, everyone in it was really good.
Acting was great. Acting was good.
I don't think it's meant to really be anything more than that. It's just a capturing of a feeling. It's not trying to tell some crazy story or anything like that. I think it's successful in what it tries to do. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
and like I said, we both said, like, big respect for just being so dedicated to your artistic vision that you complete it no matter what. I think that's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Would we
Bada bing,
recommend?
bada boom, we're out of here.
Wait, would we recommend?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's complicated.
Yeah.
Would we recommend?
It's a case-by-case basis for me.
I don't think this movie is for everyone. And I think that's
It is
okay. I don't
not.
think it's meant for everyone.
Yeah. I could definitely imagine having a conversation about death with someone and saying like, oh, well, there's this movie that has a unique take on, fear of death. But I get, it's hyper-specific.
Yeah, this one's going to be for those of y'all out there. Those of y'all out there listening to this now who are into freak
Yeah.
anyone into freak movies, this is going to be for you, I think, maybe.
It's worth a watch. I think it's worth
It's a little
exactly
eccentric, a
one
little
watch.
surreal, and yeah, worth one watch. Okay, out of here. Time for ScreenVomit After Dark. Now it's time for ScreenVomit. Okay, so in this part of the show, we talk about whatever else we've been watching. So, Kali, what you been watching?
All right, I checked out Jim Jarmusch's Down by Law.
Oh, okay.
I tell you what,
Huh.
I liked it.
You didn't love it.
I really liked it.
Uh-huh.
I didn't love it, but it got me back to listening to Tom Waits. And so now I was thinking about it today when I was just driving, and I was like, oh, Down by Law, what an incredible movie. All because I was just thinking about, I just have positive feelings towards it.
Yeah.
I really like it, though. It's really,
Was that your first John
Fun.
Lurie film?
I believe so, yeah.
So what did you think about him? Him and, I always forget the other guy's name.
Roberto Benigni.
Yeah. Roberto Benigni. What did you think about them?
I loved them.
Yeah.
I loved everything. I really, thought it was outstandingly so well captured. Mm-hmm. Every conversation, whether, it felt so, I don't have the word for it, but it was just electric to me.
Yeah.
While being so still. There's a lot of stillness to the movie.
There is, yeah.
Just
like
being in
half
the
of the
jail
movie
cell.
or more, yeah, is in the jail cell. Just in that one little cell.
One cell.
Yeah.
And then when they're on the lam, they're just slowly, coasting through swamp.
Uh-huh.
But I still found it very, just like...
They still kind of
felt
bond in
dynamic
the
to me.
end, even though they're all at odds, and...
Yeah, it just resolved well, and I enjoyed it, and the vibes were on point,
You know, one of my favorite scenes in that movie, too, is when Roberto Benigni gets the hiccups. You never see a guy with hiccups in a movie. I just thought that was kind of
It
sick.
is-
You never see it.
Yeah.
Name another movie with
You're
a guy
right,
with
I can't-
hiccups.
Okay, I can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Probably some comedy thing. Okay. I watched 2020s. Unhinged.
What is
with
this?
Russell Crowe.
Oh, okay.
It's the Unhinged movie.
I thought you were saying 2020s was the movie. I was like, what is that?
No.
Okay, you watched Unhinged, which is on our pod
And
list, so we may get around to someday, but so don't spill too many
so
beans.
good.
Too good. Okay.
It's so good. It's so good. It's
Okay.
It lives up to its title.
Hell yeah.
It's truly Unhinged.
Okay, we'll get around to that one day.
All right.
What else?
I watched Saint Maude.
Okay.
Yeah, really well done. It's a weird, slow burn horror flick
Oh,
with
okay.
a lot
I've seen the
of
poster to
religious
this.
themes. Yeah, it's worth a watch. Dialogue's very interesting in it. And the character is very well done. I watched a movie I think you would enjoy called The Call. It is Korean, from 2020. It's like a time travel horror movie.
Okay.
And it
Like the Lake
rocks.
House?
Yes, like the Lake House. I'm not joking. I said the same thing when we started watching it. I was like, oh, so this, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I was like, oh, so this is just like the Lake House with phones.
Incredible.
Really, really good, though. Worth a watch. Finally, I watched Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise, which I'd never seen.
I've never seen that
And
either.
is one of those, like,
That's like a romance movie, isn't it?
yes. I love love, baby.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really beautiful love story.
I famously hate love, so...
Yeah. Avoid if you hate love, because this is all about love. And it's just great. And the dialogue is so good. And the chemistry between Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, just great. Outstanding. Big recommend if you love love.
Hell yeah.
Baby. What have you been watching?
Okay, I didn't watch too much that I, loved this week.
Yeah.
But I watched a couple things that I'll talk about. One thing I actually want to do for the pod sometime, this movie Freaks. Have you heard of this movie? It has Emil Hirsch. It's like a superhero family type movie, but it's really cool. It has Bruce Dern in it too.
What year?
It's recent, 2018 maybe?
2018.
If you're looking it up, the cover is like an ice cream cone.
Okay. Yeah. I got it.
I think that's on Netflix
Okay.
too. I want to do that for pod sometime. I don't want to talk too much about it but it's good. Okay, so I watched Spring Breakers. Had you ever seen
Okay.
this? I'd never
No,
seen.
I remember it coming out, but
I feel like people talk
No, I
about this
didn't see
movie
it.
all the time. It is a little problematic. I watched some problematic stuff this week. Okay, don't cancel me. I watched Spring Breakers.
I
It
love
does
it.
have a canceled person in it, and on the
Strong.
cover, James Bleepo.
yeah.
And knowing what we know now about him puts certain parts of the movie into a different light, I would say, and a cringy light. I truly just don't like him in this movie at all. But the movie in general, outside of him being in it and his character, I thought was really cool. It's a Harmony Korine movie, which is the same person that did Gummo. And because I watched Gummo really recently before watching this, it was really cool to see the storytelling in both of them and just like Harmony, the way he does. I guess I can't speak to all his movies, but the couple that I've seen now, these two, and I watched a short, just uses such a compilation of like vibes and like vibe shots to create a narrative. Just like such a unique way of storytelling. I think it's really cool. It's really fascinating. I thought the movie was cool and good and fun. I think the way it's done is really cool. I always thought it would be like a corny, I don't know, like road trip movie or something like that.
Yeah.
Was not like that at all. Once I found out Harmony was the person who directed it, actually is what sold me on finally watching it.
Sure.
So yeah, that was cool. So I've been trying to find. I got in a mood this week for a space movie, and there are 3 space movies that I just love so much, and I was trying to find. I'm on a search to find another movie that fits the vibe of these 3. The 3 being Moon, which I mentioned recently, High Life, which we've done on pod, and Prospect, which I want to do on pod someday. My 3 favorite space movies. So I've been soliciting suggestions for movies that are similar vibe to those 3, and so I'm kind of working through a list that I got off of that, and so far, all bums. I watched this movie, Europa Report. It was bad.
No.
There's no character development at all. The planet they go to is kind of cool, but there's like stakes and you don't know why you care because you don't know anything about the characters kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I watched this movie, Love. First of all, it's called Love. I mean, come on. That's
Love, baby.
That one's produced by Tom DeLonge
Oh.
and Angels and Airwaves. So if that doesn't tell you enough, I accidentally popped off on Letterboxd about that one because I got a little ticked about something.
You wrote a whole thing.
I don't pop off on Letterboxd that often, but every now and again something will just hit me and I'm like, I gotta pop off.
Yeah.
And
no, I get it.
So that was one that I accidentally popped off on, but yeah, also didn't love that one. So still on a search with space movies. But I did watch 2 things this week that I really, really, really liked. So one is sorry to bring them up again, but Alex Kavutsky and Ariel Gardner, another short that they did, The Hole the Devil Put There.
Okay.
This fucking short was so funny. I was crying. This short is hilarious. It's exactly my shit. It's so unexpected. It's hysterical. You gotta watch The Hole the Devil Put There. It's
Send it to me.
It's like 6 minutes. Sure,
Hell
I'll
yeah.
send it to you. It's on our spreadsheet too. That's in our link tree.
Okay.
But I'll send it to you.
Hell yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, another movie that might get me canceled. I watched this movie, Made in Britain.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Which is an Alan Clark film. I've talked about another Alan Clark film on Pod Scum, which I really liked. This one I also really liked, and it's very different. So I had been kind of putting off watching this one for a while because it is about a Nazi skinhead guy.
Yep.
And I try not to look too much into the movies that I watch before I watch them because I don't want to spoil anything for myself, even something dumb. So all I knew about it was that there was this Nazi skinhead guy, and I knew other people had said it was good, but I was kind of worried that there would be some hate crime type violence that I needed to be in a certain mental state to watch. However,
Yeah.
there was not any hate crime, physical violence at least. There really wasn't violence at all, which is interesting. I think the thing about this movie, and this is going to get me canceled, the thing about this movie that's really cool is that it's about this Nazi skinhead guy who is just like a punk, like rebellious kid or whatever.
Yeah.
The way that they tell his story, you kind of empathize with him.
Sure.
And I think that it's interesting that they can make you feel that way about someone who's so clearly a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't cancel me. Watch the movie. I think it's really...
You're not. No, I totally get what you're saying, though.
It's really good. And there's no violence. I thought there would be violence, and there's none. There's truly none. Or there's
I'll definitely watch
one
this.
tiny bit of violence at the very end, and that's it. And it's not even, there's no racial thing. It's a police thing.
Plus, Tim Roth is looking
Oh my God, Tim Roth in the movie,
insane.
a king. He is so good in the movie. He's the guy. He's the Nazi skinhead.
Yeah.
And he's super fucking good in the movie. It was really good. Highly recommend. Made in Britain. And that's it.
Yeah.
All right, so you can find us everywhere, Instagram and everywhere else, at ScreenVomit, one word on all the things. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a rating and review if you're nice. Send us an email at screenvomitpod@gmail.com or tweet us with your thoughts on this movie or other movies. Suggest movies, send questions, whatever.
Hey, if you want to hear me talk about labor and stuff, I got a podcast called How to Fire Your Boss. It's up now everywhere on all the stuff.
Hell yeah. And then hit us up in a couple days, baby. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. I was thinking about this today because I ate a Girl Scout cookie, Samoa,
Yeah.
delicious. I look in the back, it's got fucking palm oil in it. You know where they're getting palm oil from? From palm trees. They're tearing down rainforest and getting palm trees and effectively harming and ruining the homes of orangutans. So it's like, Jesus Christ, I can't have palm oil now?
Dunstin checks in.
I can't, if I'm a pro Dunstin, I can't.
If you eat palm oil, Dunstin will never check in.
Dunstin never checks in. That's good. Yeah, it's just hard. That's all I'm saying. I get it.